Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Sadly, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started Together for Sharon.com in her memory and to advocate for a cure for all those still battling today and their families because no one is ever alone in this fight for a cure. Today's guest is someone I've known for some time and I consider her family. I hope she says the same after this show. We'll see. But she's really just brings a beautiful shining light to so many throughout the world doing what she does. And just so honored to have you, Joe, with us today. And just to make sure the world's aware of the incredible, inspiring work you do.
Thank you, George. That is so kind and so nice. We're here to help we're here to help to change the world of one person and at a time. And when we do that, we can change the whole world.
Yeah, it's funny, everyone. Welcome to listeners and all of you beautiful Parkinson's community and caregivers. But Joe and I didn't discuss this before, and my belief is if we could just reach one person to show, then we've changed the world. And she actually just said that before. So I feel like we're not only on the same path, but we have the same goals and really just, again, an honor. Maybe we could start the show by you telling everyone a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm just a regular person, or at least I think I'm a regular person, and
I think you're extraordinary.
thank you. And I came into the Parkinson's world a little over 35 years ago. When I was actually in a for-profit world, I was a businesswoman. I enjoyed doing what I was doing. But then my husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and that was the second person in my life who was diagnosed with it. My mother had been diagnosed before that. I didn't pay really attention to her diagnosis because every time I saw her, and she was in the Midwest and I'm in California, but every time I saw her, I attributed her changes in her body and her language, etc., to age related instead of Parkinson's until my husband was diagnosed. And then I said, oh my gosh, maybe I need to learn something. Maybe I need to do something. And so that's when I started in. I founded an organization that I managed for 35 years and did an extraordinary job of helping people so that they didn't feel isolated. I'm still doing that work, and now I'm doing it in a different nonprofit. We'll get to that in a minute, but about me, that I enjoy life. I enjoy helping people. I need a mission and have a passion to have something to do every day, and helping people is what I find the most rewarding.
Well, thank you for that, and also for fighting back. A lot of individuals out there sometimes can or don't really want to be in the public, and having you really fight for them and advocate means the world to so many. And I'd like to see if it's okay with you to dedicate today's show to your husband and your mother as well.
Thank you so much. So my husband's name was Alan Rosen, a very fine architect in the world of architecture. My mother was Amelia Lank Sabota, and she was the greatest mom of 10 kids and has probably an offspring of around 100 at this point.
Uh, well, again, we send our love and support to them, and I
Thank
just we're thinking of them and also fighting for them or anyone listening out there who is diagnosed and caregivers. Some of the most important things I remember we met some time ago, but one beautiful thing you did for me is a lot of organizations, and I still try to reach out to them all, don't have much for people like me who lost a loved one due to Parkinson, but still wants to be a voice. And I always remember you adding our little image and story to your website and memory of my mother. So that's the only time, honestly, in my 5 years doing this, anyone's ever really put a little focus on those who we've lost many times for some reason. I'm actually writing a book on that. We're obviously important to concentrate on those battling today, but all those we've lost, I think millions and millions and millions shouldn't be forgotten ever, just because they lost their battle. But you're doing some incredible things, and
So not only should we remember them, we should try to have learned from them. And there is significant amount of information out in the general public from people who went through the Parkinson's journey, that being whether they were the person with the disease process or whether they were the caregiver like you, George. We should learn from them, and we should take those messages forward and see what we can do to through all the way through the process of eradicating this insidious and terrible disease.
I agree, and not to get too into it because I could probably talk for hours on just this topic, but I always am, and I don't want an answer because I don't, we're no hot seat here, but I always felt that, let's say there's 10 million people who lost someone over the last generations, like decades. If we had brought all of them back into the fray or into the conversation, wouldn't we have such incredible more advocacy together? But again, for a different time, different place, but I kind of don't see it in a lot of places or organizations except what you did, which again is something that kind of it stands out to me in my heart. And again, I thank you always for that. Now I wanted to do something really important because today is a kind of not a new, it's almost like a famous Jay-Z song. It's time to reintroduce Joe. So we're going to do that through a beautiful website you've created. And I do encourage every one of our listeners to not just go to neurowellnessfoundation.com, but also to support you. We're sharing the website now. I'm going to share the link in the notes so everyone can click on it. But maybe you could take us kind of through a little bit of a tour of the site and all of the beautiful mission and things that you're now doing today.
Well, thank you for bringing it up and giving me this opportunity. So we're a startup at this point, and the website is certainly a work in progress. This is our homepage that you will see, and on the homepage is my welcome video that welcomes you to the Neuro Wellness Foundation, tells you a little bit about us, and there's an opportunity there to receive a copy, to download a copy of an ebook, which is newly published now. It's called OMG, I've Just Been Diagnosed with Parkinson's. It is a wonderful testament of the things that I learned along the way that I can give to the public on the things that most likely their doctors do not tell them about or to think about, but it gives you a plan of action, or certainly the thought process to go through a plan of action. What do you do once you hear those words? I have been diagnosed with Parkinson's, or you have Parkinson's, or what do you do if you're a loved one if your loved one hears those words and you hear it with that person? They're very scary words. And they normally throw someone into depression, and then we have to deal with that. But the OMG, I've just been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, is a preliminary to another book that I'm working on. This ebook is available to you for just registering with on the website. But there's another book that I'm working on that will be more in depth. And of course, I am available to talk with anybody that wants to discuss how to get through that journey.
I think these are such important issues. While I do these shows, I always before the show, I feel like I kind of know a lot. And then after each guest we have, I learned so much. And I think that, again, you're kind of focusing on an area that's really needed. So I really appreciate, again, what you do. And I'm looking forward to more expansion. And it's not, to me, a startup, something that you've dedicated your life. And it's a beautiful thing that takes a little time. I mean, I joke and say, I remember when we started together for Sharon.com, 5 years ago. And I just wanted to throw a few pictures and remember my mother. And I thought maybe we'd have 3 or 4 people. And I'm honored to say we've had over 50,000 people visit the site. And obviously, we don't accept money and we don't want it. But I do encourage everyone to support you, Joe. And also soon, I hope the donate link will be live because I do want everyone, again, to go to neurowellnessfoundation.com and donate, because what Joe is doing isn't just for one person, it's really for the world. I think it can reach people, worldwide, not just in the US. So wanted to also thank you for that. And I think it's a beautiful start. And as long as they have this amazing young lady who you might recognize talking and representing it, then I think it brings so many very important things. And again, I thank you and commend you for all that. And we'll be supporting you and following you through the journey and watching you grow again, because
Thanks.
not your first time in this, so I
It's not
appreciate.
my first rodeo, right?
I was gonna say that, but I kind of forgot the whole saying. We need every show we have a new shirt I need to buy, and that's the next one today. I wanted to now shift a little bit more about Joe. So this is the part of the show we kind of get to know you a little more. Can you tell us 3 words that might describe who you are?
Mm. That one you should have put in the advance so I could really have
That's,
thought about it. But if I
oh, that's
would
why
guess,
we do it on purpose.
okay, I would guess that the one word would be genuine or authentic. Would be a good used word to use for me. I'm a very giving person. And I'm also a very responsible person. So authentic, giving, responsible. I'd like to add joyful in there, but I don't know where that fits. I'd like to have, I love life and I want people to enjoy their lives. Quality of life becomes, I mean, that's my mission, not only for myself, but for others, is to improve quality of life every day, improve it now. That's what Neuro Wellness Foundation is about. That's my joy, that's my passion, is helping people get to that end.
I think joy is a great one because when I speak to you, I have joy and hope knowing that as long as people like you are out there, that we are going to come closer to a cure. But till then, there's people again like you fighting for those still battling today. So thank you for that. One question I kind of just had is, not easy to have one individual affected by Parkinson's, but then to have two is even tougher. What was it like? I mean, I guess we could focus on your husband, but what was it like, how did it change your life really when you found out he was diagnosed? And I mean, I don't want to say a game changer for a good reason, but a life changer.
It was a game changer and a life changer, not just for me, but obviously for the whole family. I suppose too that what happens when you have two people involved in it, that you start to compare, and that's not really the right or the best thing to do, because Parkinson's, as you know, and based on everything you've done for these last years, it affects everybody so differently. And so one of the biggest things I learned from mother, who predeceased my husband by a good number of years, but what I learned from her was that a diagnosis of a disease could be a misdiagnosis. And in mother's case, it was. So only after she died and through an autopsy did we discover that she had a Parkinsonism and not generic Parkinson's. So then I had to really get myself totally involved or immersed into what is progressive supranuclear palsy. And then I found that there are like 25 to 30 diseases that mimic Parkinson's in some capacity. They need to be diagnosed as their own disease because they don't act the same as Parkinson's. But people don't know that. And so they normally get their first diagnosis as Parkinson's disease, and they sit with that instead of getting the second or the third opinion on what they have or what they were diagnosed with. Again, because each one of them acts differently, they have different idiosyncrasies. And to bring quality of life to those different idiosyncrasies is what becomes a critical matter. For instance, in my mother's case, had we known while she was alive that she had PSP, or progressive supranuclear palsy, we could have helped her with some balance issues simply by getting her vision taken care of. But I knew nothing about her disease process until much later. So now I can share that with the world. There is a vision issue in not only Parkinson's, but in the Parkinsonisms. And then there is one ism that very distinctly has a vision issue, and that's PSP. Vision and balance play hand in hand.
Don't know if the word lucky, but I had the opportunity to learn a lot about PSP when we teamed with Cure PSP and also did a lot of support groups together because there wasn't really anything for support for people like me who lost a loved one. We did that for some time, and I consider them family. And it's important to mention these things because, like you said, so many issues like misdiagnosis, not early enough diagnosis, so many that affect. My mother had Parkinson's for 15 years, and we still to this day don't understand why it progressed so quickly the last 4 years. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and a shout out and love to Cure PSP and everybody out there two, obviously we focus here on Parkinson, but we also want to cure for ALS, for dementia, for Alzheimer's, for everything. So we fight for everybody listening.
Well,
And
so here's a nugget for your audience, George. And
please,
one of the things that would help the entire world of these communities with neurodegenerative diseases is called the gift of hope. And now there are banks around the country. There used to be only two of them in the United States, and now there are several. But the gift of hope is the gift of the brain after death. There's a particular process that one has to go through, but through that process, you get the neurodegenerative autopsy report done, and that's where you find out what someone has or didn't have. That's how we found out mother's diagnosis, or what she wasn't diagnosed with, but what she had was PSP. So the gift of hope, and we'll have more of that on our site as well when we get a little more established with the website. But it's critical to be able to give that, because that helps scientists, it helps not the knowledge base, and it helps federal funding for the diseases.
since again, soon we'll go back to the fun question, but you've been asking, saying some topics that really interest me. But as both literal children of those with PD, do you ever concerned or are you ever worried in a way that you might also be diagnosed with Parkinson's? Because it's something I some reason lately thinking a lot about. I'm going for my own DAT scan because I've had a lot of twitching here for months. Don't think it's Parkinson's, and also my hand is kind of a mess, but I think it's because I'm a workaholic. So I think, honest, I'm not going to be kind of diagnosing myself like we all can on websites like
Well,
web.
we have the monkey chatter that goes on in our brains
All right.
too. But I can say to you that, it's very sad to me because I have a sibling who is now, as we speak, is involved with potential diagnosis of Parkinson's. Now, mother didn't have Parkinson's, so what does he have? What she had, or is will be it'll be interesting to find out that difference. When he once he gets through his neurological examinations. In the old days, and that wasn't very long ago, but in the old days, I used to ask questions in our support groups of how many of you have grandchildren,
Mhm.
people with Parkinson's, or the caregivers, how many of you have grandchildren with a neurological disorder? And ADHD was one of those that was there in neurological disorders. I cannot tell you the number of people that raised their hands about their grandchildren. So we thought that maybe there was a jump in generations where there was still a neurological deficit that showed up in some manner, and ADHD was very high on the list. So one of the things neurowellness is going to be jumping into is autism, because that too is neurodegenerative, certainly a neurological issue. And we're going to see what kind of quality of life we can bring to those families. But all of these come together, and we're now seeing where they have so many similarities and yet so many differences. But if our joy and our pleasure is bringing quality of life to those people, those families, that's what I'm about. That's what we're about. And so that's where we're going to go with Neuro Wellness Foundation. But I would like, and I will have a private chat over some of those things, George, because I'll give you some ideas of what to think about or what to look into to rule out the Parkinson's idea. And that should give you some solace that you don't have it, or what you need to do even if you did have it. It's as I've said over and over, it's not the end of the world,
Right.
but it definitely is a new job. It's something new it's a new way of living, different way of living. But it's not the end of the world. It's not the death sentence that most people think because it has the word disease attached to it.
One thing I admire you also about, and is something I believe in, and that's tackling, and it's a literal blog we have, but tackling tough topics. And I welcome you to, if you're ever interested, and everyone listening, we just started taking blogs from around the world from anyone, just 3 to 4 paragraphs and a photo. But I like to tackle every topic head on, and some of the ones you just discussed sound like 100 different blogs we need, because I feel if you don't talk about these topics and the tough ones, we're never going to find resolution. And as an attorney too, was lucky, even though we hired an attorney, a will for my mother. My mother planned her funeral beforehand, which wasn't due to Parkinson's, just due to life. She also had me as a power of attorney. She did all, and we talked about death with dignity. We didn't have it at the time in Florida. But all these things, I just imagine when I was hit with the funeral and my mother passing, which we didn't expect because we were told so many times you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. She was only 69, which to me is young. I just imagine I was already crushed. Imagine all these other things. Cry. We can save so many families and people heartache, but people sometimes don't want to talk about it, and that's what we
Oh,
keep doing.
yeah, and that is, I understand that they don't want to talk about it, but I will also, and I'm a big promoter of it, is that once you get the facts about it,
Right.
it doesn't feel so ornery or so scary. So when we talk about death, and thankfully your mother did what she did, what an incredible thing that she did. Learn from that, share it with the world, because creating her own funeral was helpful to you and your family because it was what she wanted. You had no guilt at that point of what she would have wanted or didn't want, or all because it was already planned. She took the onus of guilt away from you. Isn't that wonderful? And we should all think about that. It's not Parkinson's related, it's life related. And so there are such people today called end of life doulas. I work with one regularly and I go to lunch with him regularly because he even grounds me. But an
Mhm.
end of life doula is someone that can help you design, how do you want the end of your life to be? The end of your life should be as exemplary and as fun and as cheerful and as joyful as when you were born, if we think about it, because we're all born, we're all going to die. In between there, we act differently and we do whatever we need to do. But the inevitable is being born and dying. So understanding that we're going to die one day, whether it be of Parkinson's or whatever else, how about if we plan to get to the end in joy and in confidence, and knowing that we're not going to dump some problem on our children or on our family members.
Yeah, it'll be hard to shift to some fun questions after this, but
No, chip. I
I,
mean, there's nothing unfun about what I just said. It's
yeah.
just a little more, it's just a thought-provoking process. But we can talk about what I did on my one birthday where I bungee jumped from a 65-foot
Uh,
pole, if that helps.
that's one thing I think I'll pass on. I won't be
Okay, all
joining
right.
it. I would love to hear it sometime, but I have a question which you might like. Imagine you had the opportunity to interview yourself 10 years ago. What would you say to yourself?
Wow. I would say that you should realize that you are not in control, that there is some other power that actually takes you through your life, and that as long as you are a kind, loving, and good person, that you will be guided to the right places and the right opportunities, instead of trying to control what goes on and then be stripped of dignity or whatever when it didn't turn out the way that you wanted it.
Thank you. And if you could have one wish granted, what would it be?
I said this out loud, and I got an answer back, and I said, because I think the answer was, well, yeah. So the question was, what would you rather have, a cure for Parkinson's or a new love? I've changed my mind today. But back in time, I said a cure to Parkinson's. I miss my late husband desperately, and I'm really ready for a new love.
Mhm.
And so I'd like to say my new love first, and then the cure for Parkinson's and the other neurodegenerative diseases. If we get one of them, the rest will come. So it's just having that cure, because I think that the millions of people that are affected by these diseases is horrendous at this point. And I'm hoping it really isn't necessary, because we can find that cure. I really hope that.
Thank you. And if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you call it, and what actress would play your role?
Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I supposedly look like Shirley MacLaine, so but
I
she's
like her.
too old to play the role probably at this point. But
You're only as old as you feel, so I'm about 99.
yeah, yeah. Okay. So what would I call it? Hmm, I think the word intrepid has been used already. So um guts and bluster or something like that, because
I
from
like
day one, from the time I got started in my life as an independent youngster, it was always just going forward with no fear. And so with blood and gut or guts and bluster, I I did an awful lot in my world that and for the world at large, unknowing that I could be that helpful to the world, to people. So yeah, and who would play the actress?
We'll take Shirley MacLaine.
Pardon?
We'll take Shirley MacLaine. I like her.
But that's fine. Yeah, I mean, because I look like her, so maybe we could use her.
Thank
A young Shirley MacLaine.
And as we kind of wrap up shortly, who is your hero and inspiration?
Oh, I think both of them were my late husband. Alan was certainly my hero and definitely my inspiration. I mean, what I've done for the last 35 years would not have been done except for him. And I think that what I did was move mountains in the neurodegenerative world.
Well, he will live on in his memory through this show because, as you know, after the lights, camera, and paparazzi leave, when we shut off the cameras, this conversation cannot end. I ask everyone, please, to share this, to support Joe. Please go to neurowellnessfoundation.com, and she's just an honor and pleasure to know and to call family in this fight for a cure. And I don't like saying final, but for today, because I say to be continued, but one last question. If you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
Oh, and I've said this now for about 13 years because I know something that I'm not going to share today, but I do believe that the cure is here. It's right around the corner. And I think we just need to bring it to market. And it's something that I'm personally working on as well, though it's not for publication on what I'm working on, but I believe that the cure is around the corner. And so what I want everybody to think about is how do they keep themselves with the greatest quality of life possible now until that cure gets here. Because by doing the quality of life now, you're going to elongate your life and we want you to live long enough to be able to get to a cure. Whether that helps everybody, I don't know, but I just believe that there is something out there and it's still it's in my future, but it might possibly be. I'm hopeful that it's in my lifetime.
Well, I really appreciate your time and all that you've kind of taught me today because, again, I learned so much every time we meet and talk. And also for the past, you've been nothing but a support, friend, and inspiration to me. And I think so many. So please, again, everyone, support Joe and donate too once the link's up to Neuro Wellness Foundation. But again, have a little message for you, Joe, and everybody listening. We love you. We support you. We care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Joe, will advocate for you, and I feel together our voices are so much stronger. And I always end the show and say I'm just getting started because although I've been doing this for a few years and Joe's been doing it many years, the show doesn't end when we close today. We have to keep sharing, we have to keep supporting one another, and we have to keep fighting for a cure. And until that is at everybody's doorsteps around the world, I know Joe along my side and you listening, everybody, we won't stop. So please, again, share this, support Joe, and just try even for those little moments of smiling. And we'll be thinking of you. So thank you, Joe. It's been such an honor to talk today.
Thank you, George. The honor was mine. Talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon.
Thanks, and thanks everyone for listening. This has been another episode of Q&A with Sharon Son George. Please stay tuned. We have a lot more work to do, and I won't stop till the cure is again here. And we're always here to be a support and to make sure you're not alone. Thanks, everyone. Love you.